Hi, in this video we're going to look at the grading syllabus for white belts. We're going to do all of the techniques apart from the kicking, which we've already done in a previous video. First technique we need to look at is press up. Press up needs to be done correctly. We're looking at having flat hands for all female members and all males up to 17. From 17 years onwards, then we need to use apjamuk, which is forefist. The forefist comprises of the first two knuckles of the hand. A lot of mistake people make is to start using the last three knuckles of the hand, whereas this is incorrect. This is a very weak part of the hand. If we punch with that, then we're more likely to injure ourselves. So make sure it is apjamuk, forefist. Let's have a look at the mechanism of the technique then. We need to make sure that our wrists are nice and straight. We have our hands just slightly out from shoulder width, but our hands right straight underneath our shoulders. Full position, head straight, back straight. Then we lower down, arms going back to 45 degrees, elbows down to 90 degrees, then we're extending up. If we take the elbows out to the side, then what we can do is we can start injuring the shoulders. We don't want to do that, so make sure those elbows go straight backwards. Again, looking at the incorrect way to do it, and some people, beginning, will start on these three knuckles here. But look what happens to the wrists. The wrists are compromised. So we need to make sure that we're going through apjamuk, so that the forces go straight up through the wrists and straight up through the ulnar radius, so that we then prevent injury on that. Within the grading, you'll be asked to do 10 press-ups, either on flatter hands, if you come to that category, or if you're the male 17 and above, on apjamuk. If you find it difficult to go through a full press-up, because sometimes it can be slightly uncomfortable when you're not used to it, then do a 3/4 press-up, so we start up on our knees. Okay, let's move on to the taekwondo techniques that we need for this belt. First one we're going to look at is sitting stance, middle punch. So we're looking at anasogi, kawunde, apjamuk, jurugi. So anasogi, sitting stance, kawunde, middle, apjamuk, jurugi, front, forefist, punch. Getting the stance correct in the first place is important. We need to make sure that we are 1.5 shoulder widths wide from the outsides of the feet. We're onto the balcals, so the sides of the feet, we're pushing out. We correct that by pushing the knees outwards when we're doing it, so then it forces me onto the outside of the feet there. We need to make sure that our body is upright, we're not leaning forward. So to create this, what we need to do is, from here, we just hollow the back, so it brings us into a straight position here. With the punch, to build up to the full correct process of delivering a punch, we can go through different phases. We need to look at opposite reaction force. So go from a Narani Chumisogi, so open ready stance. What we can do is take one fist out straight ahead of us and one onto the belt. The fist is out in front of us. We're looking for it to be one fist below shoulder height. We're looking for it to be on the center line. And from this position we're looking for the other fist to be on our hip or on our belt. What we can do from here is we're looking to swap them over. So we can just lift up on the heels and then we can drop and punch through. We need to make sure that the elbow is kept tight in all the way. A mistake that some people make is to rotate too early and then the elbow comes outwards. So make sure we're pushing the elbow straight forwards, the rotation is on the very end. So from here, sideways view. We then can progress to put it into our sitting stance. So we take our sitting stance position and from here. Now what we're looking to do is to do a down, up, down movement. It isn't just a case of rising and dropping between the punches. It's a case of down, then rise, then drop and punch. We need to make sure we keep the heels on the floor as well. One of the common mistakes is as we rise up, the heels rise, and that should not be happening. So sideways position. If we take it to the next level and understanding the full proper movement, we should have a relaxation of the hand coming off the belt with the extended hand also slightly relaxing in. The hand that comes off the belt should be around about one fist away from the belt, that is all. And it is a relaxation. So it's not like an active movement that you do, it's relaxing both of the arms. So from the front view, all we're looking to do is as we drop, we come off, relaxing, backwards and forwards. So sideways view, as we relax, this happens. Slightly off the belt, this hand coming in. As we rise, it comes backwards and extends with the opposite reaction hand force, and then through. Full speed. Okay, let's move on to the blocking now. So walking stance is what the stance we're going to use for this. And with these blocks, we are going to move forwards and backwards. Within the grading, you'll need to do 4 forwards and 4 backwards. Understand the walking stance is so important to start with. We need to make sure that we are 1.5 shoulder width long, 1 shoulder width wide. So the centre of my foot at the front and the back, they are on my shoulder line, which is the centre of my shoulder. My foot at the rear is 25 degrees outwards. A mistake is that people have it too far and it changes the hip position. Okay, so we need to make sure that 25 degrees movement. We are half facing whenever we are doing a blocking movement, or we are full facing if we are going to be doing a striking movement. The first one we're going to do is punching, but let's look at how we move the feet going forwards anyway, because we need to understand sine wave. With our sine wave, what we're looking to do is to keep our head level all the way to the centre point. So where my rear foot meets my front foot, then I am totally at the same height here. So again, from this position to here. Only when I get to the centre point do I start to stand up and then go forwards. My feet on the floor do an elliptical movement. They do not come to touch each other. There is a gap between them at all times, but it does this elliptical movement as it comes forwards. To create the sine wave, what we need to look at doing is, firstly, setting ourselves in the correct stance, so my knee at the front is in line with the rear of my heel. So from here, straight down. My leg is locked out, 25 degrees to the back. As I move forward, what happens is, I bend my knee and lift my heel up, at the same time pushing my knee over my front toes to here. So this allows me to roll forwards to this position, keeping the same height for my head. As I then raise, up, straighten, I can then come down the other side with my force going downwards, using my body mass to increase the amount of power within the technique. So let's put it into a punching motion. So I extend the hand out, roll, lift, and drop. One more time. Forward facing. Okay, going backwards is a little bit more difficult, or a bit more challenging, but the process is very much the same. Let's look at a mistake people make a lot of the time. The mistake is to keep the leg locked out to the back here and push off my front leg, which takes me straight up in a sort of a 45 degree angle. Then all I do is come down the other side, but this is incorrect. The sine wave works exactly the opposite to the way when we're going forwards. So what we need to look at doing here is, again, lift the heel, bend the knee. At this point it brings my centre of gravity closer to me and easier for me to come to this position. Then I just stand up and then I deliver the punch. Let's look at that, go forwards and backwards then. Okay, so now we've done the punching walking stance. We're now going down to our blocks. We have 3 blocks that we need to do with this. First one is going to be a low outer forearm block in walking stance. So gun and soggy, or gun and so, because we shorten down the soggy piece when we put it into a sentence. Najunde, Palmok, Maki. So Palmok being the outer forearm, Maki being block. With this, what we're looking to do is chamber at solar plexus height. So we chamber on the opposite chest line, the hand on top. From this position, as we deliver it, we are rotating down, so we come to a 25 degrees bend in the elbow joint here. The other hand coming back to the belt. So if I set myself up into a walking stance, So from opposite chest line, solar plexus height, coming down to 25 degrees here. Now my blocking tool, which is my palm, my forearm, is on my chest line at this point. So my blocking tool is those 2 inches there just past the wrist joint, and that being on my chest line here. We're looking to pull back as hard as we can up to the belt. As we do with a punch, this opposite reaction force will create more force, more power, more speed. So let's go through this. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is going to be Najunde Sonkalmaki, so low knife hand block. So we're now going to use the knife hand, so the side of the hand here. When we're creating this, we have a flat hand, we pull push the palm forward, we pull down the fingers, we have the thumb to the side of this position. This creates the knife hand position and creates stability within that hand. This differs slightly from our Najunde Palmok-Maki, whereas we deliver it from the lower rib and we deliver it down to a 15 degrees elbow position. What we're looking to do with this, rather than coming down onto the target, we're looking to sweep the target across. So both of these are to defend a front kick into the lower regions. The Palmok is used to come more down onto the technique as well as deflect. But the knife hand, because it is weaker than the forearm, is looking to push it across to deflect that kick because it is a weaker tool. So we don't need to go so far because we don't need so much force into it, and we want it to move a little bit quicker. Now one way to look at if we're in the right position is if we just lend our hand onto our leg, onto our quads, the natural curvature of the quads puts my hand in the right position. All I do then is lift up, and I'm about 2 fists above the thigh in this position, and it gives me that 15 degrees. But as I say, it's important to come from the lower rib on your rear chest line here. So, go through that. Notice the half-facing position. Majority of blocks go to half-facing so that we are not fully facing here, and it gives us that little less body position for the attacker to attack. Our last one goes on to inner forearm block, and Palmok-Maki. And is inner, Palmok is forearm, Maki block. We're doing this from walking stance as well. Now, the majority of blocks that we have chamber on the inside or on top. So if we look at a low block here, it comes to the inside. If we look at with Sonkal, it comes from inside. If we look at a back at Palmok-Maki, from here it comes from the inside as well as if we're doing a rising block, which we come on to in the next grade. But Palmok-Maki is the one block really that's different. It comes from the outside. So with that chambering, we're looking to take the hand to the outside, both palms facing away from here. We're looking for it to be above shoulder height, and we're looking for it to be on my rear chest line here. By delivering it, we're delivering it with the elbow. As we step forward, the elbow comes down at the 45-degree movement. Once it reaches that 45-degree movement, then it rotates to the position it needs to block within. The fist is at shoulder height, the elbow is 90 degrees. So from a side view, up and down. Common mistake is for people to block from underneath the shoulder. And what happens here, there is just a rotation occurring at the shoulder joint. This makes the technique weak, but also it can create damage within the shoulder joint and the shoulder capsule as well. So later down the line within your career, you can start having some shoulder problems. So we need to make sure that we are blocking above and we are using that elbow to bring it down, and we're using the body movement to create that power. So let's do that in a motion moving forwards and backwards. One thing you'll notice with all of the blocking that I've done is I come to a neutral position between each movement. This is important to create relaxation. If we look at the concept within Taekwondo, we should be looking at what attacker is there, assessing what attacker is there, then assessing what technique to deliver. So we shouldn't be preempting it. We shouldn't be taking it straight into the next technique because we might want to change what we're doing. So that's neutral position, if I can demonstrate it. As I move forwards, I come to solar plexus height. My hands in front of my chest. My hands are tilted around about a 45-degree position here. This is relaxed, not close to the body, just relaxed out. From this position, as I move, I can then chamber into the block and then come forwards. We're also looking to deliver on the last quarter of the movement. What I mean by this is this. If we take a walking stance and we look from the start position to the middle and the feet meeting, then we're looking at that being halfway through the movement. We then have another half to go before we reach to the end of the movement, the walking stance. So I then have one more quarter, which takes me to 3/4, and then the last quarter here, where I finish up with stance. We should be looking to hold a neutral position until that last quarter, then deliver it. What it does is, it means that I have to move my hands faster to be able to catch up, but also it creates that great commitment towards the end of the movement. So if I do it full speed, so there we go, white belt syllabus, everything but the kicking. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.